Hey there, footy fans. It's time for a bit more footy fun with Footy Finn. And look, I I cannot miss this opportunity. There was a massive upset at Penrith last night in the Battle of the West, the replay of last year's grand final. Now, Parramatta were looking at Mad Monday or Freaky Friday happening today, Friday, because they were out of the finals race. They were almost certain to lose. They're missing Mitch Moses, and they have a bye in the final round. So it was like last roll of the dice, last game for the year for the Eels against the much fancied Penrith Panthers, who have won, I think, is it 8 or 9 on the trot, maybe more. They're at the top of the table. They had a near full strength team, although they did end up resting Dylan Edwards and Mitch Kenny and maybe one of the other centres, Tungor. Anyway, massive boil over. I love this in sport. Just when you think everything's going to be boring and predictable and the Panthers are going to win the minor premiership again and then they're going to win the grand final again and it's very boring for anyone who's not a Panthers fan, something like this comes out of the blue. I've just noticed there's blue and gold here, Parramatta colours. That's amazing. So yeah, look, Parramatta got away to an early lead, a try to Micah Sivo in the corner. Madison looked to have scored, but that was ruled, you didn't ground it correctly. Anyway, basically, I think, what was a halftime score? Was it 18-4? Was it 22-4? Micah Sivo ends up scoring 4 tries. Clint Gutherson, their captain and fullback, scores a try. Someone else did. Basically, they just they rattled the Panthers. The Panthers came out, I think, fully expecting to coast through this game, to win this one. Eels came out and played like they should have been playing all year, and as if they were playing in the backyard and didn't really care and throwing it around. And yeah, it was a massive upset. And in fact, the game was pretty much won, you would think. Even by the 60-minute mark, it looked, or 65, it looked very unsure that the Panthers would come back. Now, Gutho did bugger up his knee. So what I'm about to say is, anyway, the Eels are still in contention for the finals. They're basically still in with a chance. I'll come to that and the ladder in a moment, but it's for 8th spot. It's a race between the Rabbitohs, the Cowboys, the Roosters, and now the Eels. So imagine that. It's a funny old game. It's just like life. You never know what's going to happen. Anyway, speaking of injuries, now you wouldn't wish this on anyone, but Jerome Luai has dislocated his shoulder. He was in the act of trying to score a try, but a great tackle by Bryce Cartwright, who managed to turn him, but in doing so landed on his, I think it was his left upper arm, and basically the shoulders popped out, and he's off for scans this morning. Who knows how long he'll be out for? Surely he'll miss at least a couple of games. It may be a season-ending injury, which would really dent the Panthers' finals hopes. And anyway, speaking of premierships, the minor premiership, the Eels were really looking pretty. The Panthers were looking pretty certain to sew that up. Now that's all up in air. If the Broncos can beat Canberra away and then the Storm at home, the Broncos have sewed up the minor premiership. So really quite amazing. I'm just trying to take a look at the ladder here while I talk. Anyway, look, best wishes to Jerome Luai. If you watch his channel, you probably realise I'm not his biggest fan, not all the time, but you wouldn't wish that on anyone. So best wishes for a speedy recovery. Well, maybe a great recovery come October, if I'm being honest personally. Anyway, nasty injury. So anyway, in brief, now the Rabbitohs are in strife. Latrell Mitchell is out for their final game. Sam Burgess has just quit or been sacked as assistant coach. There's talk that the other assistant, John Morris, won't stay beyond the end of this season. So there's a bit of strife going on behind the scenes with the Bunnies. Now they've got a bye. They're on 30 points. I believe they've already been given their 2 points for this round. And then sitting on 9, 10, 11, all on 28 points are the Eels, the Cowboys and the Roosters. Now in terms of for and against, the Eels and the Roosters are 13 and 12 in the positive, so level there. The Eels and the Cowboys, rather. The Roosters are on negative 62. So they're really in trouble, but they might get to reduce that deficit against the Tigers this weekend, you would think. But basically, look, the Eels, with their 2 points next week, they'll finish on 30 points. And 13, positive 12 in the for and against. Now, the Cowboys, they're up against the Dolphins tonight. Can they win? It's not a guarantee in that Queensland derby. So look, it's an open race. I think the Knights are going to make it. So really, as far as I'm seeing things at the moment, it's a race for 8th spot between Souths, Parramatta, the Cowboys and the Roosters. So anyway, that's it. Dramatic evening, dramatic developments. Who would have guessed it? Anyway, bring on the Queensland Derby tonight and then the rest of round 26. Can't wait. Enjoy it. Catch you between the sticks. See ya.